If you're looking to drastically change up the look of the interior, along with that boring factory shift knob in your automatic equipped 2015 and newer Mustang, well then you might want to consider adding this red option from SR Performance. Now this option will combine CNC'd aluminum along with the red resin knob to help deliver that retro cue ball styling, all for right around $100. Installation, on the other hand, will get a solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. This is really not that difficult of a job and should take you about 30 minutes or so to swap out from start to finish, as we'll demonstrate later in the video. So if you feel like manual guys get to have all the fun when it comes to aftermarket shift knobs, well, you'd be partially right. However, thanks to companies like SR Performance, there are a few options out there, including this one, available for both the 6R80 and 10R80 cars alike. Now the knob itself, in my opinion, is going to be a throwback to the classic or retro style shift knobs of the past, and yet still works really well in the newer interiors of the S550s, especially if you guys have added the red engine start button, maybe other aftermarket red accents in the interior, or if you were lucky enough to grab a car with the red line interior. Now, if you're still not quite sure of how this might look in your own ride, please, I encourage you, check out the dozens of customer submitted images on this one, guys, to really get a better sense about what I'm talking about. Now, the SR option will completely replace that boring stock shift knob using a combination of the CNC'd aluminum here at the base, along with your centerpiece, which is no doubt going to be the bright red resin knob, which actually, if you look close enough in bright enough light, it almost has a little bit of flake to it. Nothing crazy, but just very nice and will certainly grab attention. Now, aside from the awesome looks, this is gonna be an install that just about anyone should be able to tackle with ease, as the 1 out of 3 wrench rating would otherwise indicate. But to give you a better idea of just how easy this job will be, check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown right now.
The tools used for this install are a plastic trim and panel tool, a stubby Phillips head screwdriver, and a small flathead screwdriver.
All right, so the first step of this install is going to be to hop inside the vehicle and remove the shifter bezel around the shifter itself. That way you can get to the screws that are underneath and remove the shift knob. You're going to use a little plastic trim tool, pop the clips that are around the bezel, and hopefully this all comes out nicely. So just to give myself a little bit more room, I'm going to unplug this small connector down here at the front, and that way I can lift the bezel up a little bit higher and get better access to the screws that are on the front of the shifter. So now I'm going to use a short stubby Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm going to remove the 2 screws that hold the shift knob into place. I'm going to take care not to drop the screws into the center console. So before we can install the new shift knob with the supplied hardware, what we have to do is separate the shift bezel from the shift knob itself. There's a small plastic clip on the bottom of the shifter lever that needs to be separated so that you can get the boot and the bezel off as one piece. I'm going to use a small flathead screwdriver and just work my way around the plastic to get it out of place. Now we're ready to get started on the install part. So before I throw this all back into the car, I'm actually going to pre-install the shifter lever into the shift boot and get it ready for the install by just pushing it down as far as I can and getting the boot situated properly above the first lip. And then I can take this over to the car and install it. So just to make my life a little bit easier, I put the car into accessory mode, which is basically key on, engine off, and move the shifter down into its lowest position to give me better access to the screw holes down here at the bottom of the shifter lever. Now I can take my new shifter assembly, slide it onto the shifter shaft, and get my screws started in the holes. Now before I snap everything back into place, I'm going to make sure that my shifter will row through all the gears, which it does. Now that I'm confident that all the gears will work, I can make my electrical connection underneath the shift bezel and snap everything back into place. And that's going to wrap up this review and install for the SR Performance automatic shifter handle in red. Thanks for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.